Hello and welcome to episode 82 of Let's Run Facebook Ads podcast with myself, Nick Boddington. Today we're going to be we're going to be going old school. We're going to be going down to the foundations of running an ad, why we run an ad, and why we don't want to turn it off if it's working. Let's get into it. So we have a client at the moment who is a charity. You may have heard, especially if you're in the UK, of amends. You see these adverts all over the place. This is where you can win a £5 million house in London, and it's collecting donations at the same time for a charity. So the smaller charity based up north in the north of England is doing the same thing with a local builder, so you can win a £250,000 house, and donations are going to the charity at the same time. So they're selling tickets online. Okay, simple as that. Pick the imagery of it's the imagery of the house with win this house. We got in a bit of trouble with the win thing with Facebook. We had to prove that we were allowed to sort of gamble, because you have to do that with the policies. Either way, we got through that. So that's what we're doing very simply. Okay, the client is always wanting to change things because they were always wanting to get something better. Now, there's been a number of occasions on this campaign, which has been going on for probably near enough a year, where we've had something that's getting, say, a 3 times return on their investment. Okay, so it's good, they're happy. But what they're doing is, and what they're wanting to do is, change it up again to try and beat it. The rule of thumb here, guys, is if you've got an ad that's doing 3 and you're happy with that, carry on testing new creative and new copy to try and beat it to a 4 ROAS. But until you've got consistency for a few weeks of a new ad producing 4 ROAS, do not turn off the one that's got 3 ROAS previous. Okay, do it once you're confident and Facebook's confident that you can keep some consistency with the next one. That's the first rule. What we're coming to now with this client is, even though we've been banging on about this all the time, we've got to the last 10 weeks and the client says, okay, we want to do a 10-week countdown. So every week we want to go 9 weeks until 8 weeks, 7 weeks. And I've said, no, we can't do that, because what's happening is then, let's say on the 10th week it's going and we suddenly get a 3.5, 4 ROAS. And then what happens is we're having to insert some more creative, which takes us down to only 9 weeks remaining, because that's what they want to say in the copy and the creative. The problem with doing this is we're resetting the algorithm for those ads. So Facebook, if you're changing creative, copy, any major changes to an ad, resets it. It goes back to the beginning. You've got in learning phase for 5 to 7 days to optimize the ad, and now you've reset it because you've inserted into the picture. One of the only things you can do to an ad is the budget, and that is only keeping the budget, changing the budget less than 20%. So if you've got an ad on that's £1 and you want to take it up, you can actually only amend it 20% of that. So 20p. Okay, that's all you can do. So it's now £1.20. That's one of the only things it is the only thing you can do to not upset the algorithm. So I've been saying to the client, look, why don't we create an ad that's constant? So rather than saying 10 weeks to go, we could say offer ends or house bidding. I don't know. Now I'm having to think on the thing. I didn't write anything down. Whatever that got me be, like, ends 13th of September 2022. Okay, so rather than a countdown, we've got some scarcity saying it ends in September 13th of September 2022. Get that to a place with an audience it works. So we've done loads of testing. So we've got an audience that works. We've got some creative and stuff that's works. We're going to tweak it, get it working, and then we're not going to touch it until it ends. We're just not going to touch it. It's going to do what we want to do. Now, at the same time, if the client wants to do some ads which are changing every week, 10 weeks, 9 weeks, it's so on and so forth, that's fine. But I advise the client that it might not get the return on investment. Now, my other argument here is why? Okay, fair enough, we're testing, but the problem is we're not testing an ad that is going to get any consistency, because we know in 7 days they're going to turn it off because they want to go down to 9 weeks remaining. And then in 7 days, they're going to turn it off and go 8 weeks remaining. The problem here is that the algorithm takes 5 to 7 days to optimize fully and exit the learning phase if there's enough budget to it. If you don't have enough budget and Facebook can't learn quick enough, it will just keep that learning phase going and going and going. So it all depends on the budget you've got there, you need to give Facebook enough money to do its test. Okay. So I've advised the client not to do the thing, but they want to do it. Okay, it's your money. I've given you my recommendations and my advice on what I think you should do. That's fine. But from my point of view, as not being penalized as the agency, I want permission to keep my ad on, get it up to a 3.5, 4 ROAS, and keep it there until the end of the campaign. Now, bear in mind, this has been going on a year, and we still haven't had one ad being consecutively. Most of them change every month and things like this, to my frustration. But a client's a client, they're quite happy with what's going on. But I just wanted to do this podcast because it was something that happened this morning, and it's the foundations of Facebook advertising. Do not touch your ad if you've got a winning one. If your ads aren't just, you're just trying to battle to get one working, then yeah, you're going to go through this massive testing phase, testing audiences, creative, all this sort of stuff to get to where you need to go. But if you have a winning one, if you say to yourself, okay, 2.5 ROAS on a shopping ad or whatever it might be is where I need to be to make money. Everything else of that is perfect, but 2.5 ROAS is where I need to be. And you've got an ad at 2.5 ROAS, don't turn it off, don't change anything. Just very slightly increase that budget, less than 20%, really within 48 hours, 36 hours sort of thing, not every single day, and just slowly up it, keeping a look on your figures, keeping a look on your ROAS. At the same time, have a small percentage, let's say 30% of your ad spend can just be to testing new stuff out. Yeah, maybe put your ads in dynamic creative so Facebook has more stuff to play with. That's my advice. That's the end of this podcast. I hope that reminds us, because these little things we need reminded. When I get reminded of it, I'm going to do a podcast and just literally get out of there and tell you guys what you need to do. Just remember all the things. There's so much going on with this platform now that it's remembering those basics. Okay, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.